Okay, thanks. I'm getting the glass must cool down thing. Okay, here we go. So here's my dumb little thing. So right off the bat, like you can see, this is an Android application. This is not what you would normally expect to see on glass. Like there's an action bar here. We have like hello world. There's the like the status bar up there. Really weird. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of that stuff. And we do that by setting the theme. So we're going to do two things. We're going to set the theme. I'm going to copy that over. It goes on the application level. Delete the old one. I'm also going to make this an immersion. Actually, I think I'll change the theme first and then show you the output, and then I'll turn it into an immersion. It'll break. So we'll do it one step at a time. Or it won't break. It won't do anything special because we don't have Gradle's not configured correctly yet. There we go. Glass must cool down. This is one of the fun things about glass. Is it overheats pretty easily. All right. So we're gonna go. There we go. My module. There we go. Okay. So now got rid of the action bar. So that's good. Making progress. Now I'm gonna turn this into an immersion. And let's see. Is this the one? All right. So now, since we added this immersive thing, this is a glass, a GDK, bit, and it basically just tells glass that like we're in an immersion. It allows the activity to like grab certain events and handle those correctly. We're actually not going to use any of those, but it's just kind of the right thing to do. And we need this. See over here how it says compile SDK version 15? It's not right. It should be the GDK. And I'm actually just going to make sure that the module has this as well. It does not, so we're going to change that right now as well. So just for those who are not familiar with IntelliJ, there are like kind of module settings. You press F4 and get into them. So this like gg-test is the module that we're building right now. And I just want to make sure that that's set to the correct SDK API level. Okay. So that's all we need for now there. Okay, so I've done that. I've set the immersive mode to true. Okay, next we're going to add a voice trigger. So right now the only way to launch this thing is either have glass on and run it from your IDE or ADB, so from the command line, or like I have this glass launcher installed, which is some project that somebody built to make life easier for developers. But really the thing to do.
What's the name of that?
Oh, it's called Glass Launcher. Yeah. There are other ones too. There's like Launchy, but Launchy kind of does it's weird. It like overrides settings and it tends to break stuff on every release. Glass Launcher is done with a live card, so it's kind of like the right way to do it. Anyways, we're gonna add a voice trigger now. So I'm gonna grab that line from that project. So this is just voice trigger. Pretty obvious what that's. So that's in our intent filter selection, meaning that like this activity is going to listen for any intents that come in with with this, and then the metadata tells us like where this is defined, and we're going to need to create a directory here, and an Android resource directory that is going to be called XML. And within that, we're going to create a voice launch XML file. Okay. And this is completely wrong. So I'm just going to copy in from the example that I have. Okay, there we go. And I do not have this string yet. It doesn't exist. But that's the name of it. So that's... Hold on a sec. That was the wrong thing. Wrong strings. Okay. That's the one I want to create. And there's, you can see, no file declaration to go to because it does not exist yet. This strings, there we go. How should I launch this? What's a good voice command for this one? That's taken.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yellow.
Gallop? Okay, Gallop works. All right. Okay, so now I think this should be enough to run. Okay, so now I should be able to say, okay, Glass, Gallop. Okay, that worked. All right. That's actually all we need for the voice launch. And I'm pretty sure that we're done screwing around with the manifest as well. So here it's a slide saying the same stuff I already said. Yeah, we're done with all this stuff. There's one more thing in the Gradle that I'm just going to pull over now to like not have to touch Gradle again. It's this dependency. So this is a library that I'm writing to just like, you know, a bunch of reusable code. I'm just like, you know, shove it in that library so I can not need to copy it over every project. And we're going to need it because I'm cheating and putting a bunch of stuff in the library. Okay. So next, we need to create a surface view. Oh, we need to create a fragment. All right. So this thing has a fragment. It's just placeholder fragment. It's like what, you know, the thing generates when it auto-generates code for you. We get rid of the menu selection because we don't use that. In this, we're going to refactor out into its own file. And we'll call it image grab rag. I think that's what I called it before. Okay. Okay. That might need to be imported. No? Aha. Need to extend fragment. There we go. Okay. Now we're all happy. Okay, I'm going to add some layout stuff here. It's going to be this, but of course the presentation won't let me click that. So yeah, we just need this surface view. This is that. Okay, so now we have a preview. All right. It's not really worth running yet because it wouldn't do anything. So yeah, now it's telling me to add this dependency that I already added, which is the reusable Android utils. So just a quick note, like things that I've put into this library, there's some helper code for dealing with cameras. Like typically you'll need to implement a photo handler. So I've implemented a generic photo handler in here. I have some file utils that help, like, saving to file in on the SD card. It like creates a directory that I specified and just pushes stuff there. It's got all the GIF code that I pulled off of a Stack Overflow answer. So there's a bunch of good stuff in there. But we've already done this. We've done the updating Gradle, and now we have to pull in code from other projects. Thinking this might be good to get from my GIST. Yeah. So I also kind of created these GISTs on GitHub to at the actual point where I'm doing this stuff, so I don't go to the real thing and screw up a bunch of stuff. Nope, here. There we go. Okay. And this is preview. All right, let's just make this big again. There we go. Okay, so now I just got to import stuff. We're going to need the hardware camera, not the graphics camera. That's add dependency on module. Yeah, that should have been done already, but okay. Okay, we need log, import log. Getting close. Okay. I never remember the key to, oh yeah, auto import stuff on auto import like everything on IntelliJ. It'd be useful to remember. So the other thing that I forgot to grab is like I need to implement photo callback, which is the helper that I had mentioned. There we go. Okay. Now everything's green, and I'm pretty sure that I can try and run it. Yeah. Okay. So while it's compiling, again, what I did was just I created this new fragment. I got rid of the default fragment from the main activity and replaced it with this fragment that I've created. I gave it a layout with a surface view. I'm implementing photo callback, which is the helper code that I mentioned. And I'm going to walk through the rest of the code. Well, why don't we do that now? Okay, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, forgot to update the manifest. Of course it's going to crash. So what we're doing, first we got to grab a reference to the surface view. We need that for the camera. On Android, you cannot use the camera like in your app without first showing a preview of it. It won't work. It'll crash, or it won't give you access to the camera to take a picture. So that's why we needed to have the surface view there. And then we say add a callback to the surface view. And what this does is the surface view takes a little bit to initialize itself. And so we're waiting until after we have a surface created to initialize the camera. If we didn't do this, we'd have a race condition, and most of the time it wouldn't work. So yeah, so from onCreate, we add this callback for The surface creation. The surface creation does the init camera. It calls that. So let's take a look at init camera. Okay, first, do we have a camera? Not all phones have cameras. Glass does, so that's good. Then we're gonna just call camera open. We have a preview. We're gonna set the set the camera. Oh, camera preview is this. Let's see. This is in. I'm pretty sure that I included this. It's like an example that somebody from Google had done. I don't remember exactly what was different, but they had done something to make it not awful. Sorry, I don't remember what it was. There are a couple other things that are going to be important in a minute, though. So we set the preview with camera, pretty straightforward. This is all just like regular how you use a camera on Android so far. And then we're going to start the preview. Once we've started the preview, after that, we're allowed to take pictures. We're not calling that yet because this is going to be pretty much very broken right now. Because I forgot to, well, two things. First, I forgot to update the manifest with all these permissions that we need. So it's going to crash as soon as I try and access the camera without those permissions. So let's grab those now. Somewhere in the manifest. Here we go. Okay, so I have to go back into the manifest. I was hoping I was done, but I forgot about that. This manifest. There we go. All right. So let's try running it again. And this time, hopefully, it won't crash. Hopefully. Manifest merging failed. That's a weird error. Huh. So let's try this again. I haven't seen that error before. That's odd. Huh. Okay.
Is it still running?
Is it still running in the background?
Sometimes an error like that, it's still running in the background. The app.
Oh.
Restart. I think on the Android, maybe there's shut it down.
No, it's like this is a build error. It hasn't tried to even install it yet.
If you look at the Android,
Yeah, I mean it had crashed.
but
So
it's on the side. You close those Mobi Android app. Glass Android. Try shutting those down. Anyway.
sorry, which?
Processes that they were.
Yeah, processes that are running with that Android.
Oh,
You
gotcha.
cancel them. Sometimes that happens when they're running.
Yeah. I gotcha. That is a good call. I can try that.
No, you could do it in the Android.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
yeah, you
Go
hit
to Android.
hit Android and then highlight processes and hit the X, just a window.
oh,
And you can highlight the process and then hit the X right next to it on the side.
okay. Neither of these are mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a build issue. It's not running at all. Like, if it were getting installed and then coming up with this, it would be a different story. But it's something with Gradle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to resync Gradle.
You try to take out the permissions that you added in the manifest. Was a conflict there?
I mean, I could have broken the manifest. That's possible. But let's wait for... It's like, it's... Gradle console. What is... Ah. So yeah, we've got a conflict with the versions that are being used. So I think what's happening, if I look at this, yeah. So my target SDK is 19, and my target SDK here was 15. And 14 is 14. Let's try that. Let's look at my other. So this one was 1519 as well. That was fine. Huh. Okay, that did it. I don't know why. Okay, here we go. So now we should see something funny show up. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty broken, right? Sufficiently broken for everybody? Okay. So first, something that's bugging me about this, I really don't like the padding. Get rid of that. Okay. So what's happening is with the camera, there are a couple glass-specific parameters that you need to set in order to get the camera preview up. So, like, yeah, as soon as you try doing this with the normal camera stuff, you get this, everybody complains about it, goes to Stack Overflow, finds the answer. This is the answer. So, well, part of this is required. So the set FPS range, that's the important part. Okay, so we're going to get the camera parameters. We set the FPS range, so frames per second. That's what Glass does. The default is apparently something different. And then we have to set parameters. And then, like, I added those, the in-between 4 lines, which basically says I want a JPEG of quality 90, and then I want pictures that are 640 by 480. The reason that I'm setting it so low is because we're going to take all these and combine them into a GIF. And if we do larger ones, it takes a lot longer to build a GIF. It's already too long as it is. So, and then after this, we can actually take a picture because that shouldn't be broken anymore. So let's see. Actually, probably going to stop going to full screen with that. It's not very helpful. Okay. Okay, so I have this helpful note in there.
It's the display orientation.
Okay, I'll get that in a sec. Thank you. Okay. Okay, and then right here you can see the take picture code. If we're not alive, return. Otherwise, take a picture and then use the handler. The handler, again, is in this this helper library that I created. It's very generic. What we're going to do, though, it just persists the data in the background. It saves it off to a file in an async task. So that way it like returns a little bit quicker. I think that the samples that I saw did not do that, so it was just kind of helpful, especially when you need to like take a bunch in quick succession to do that. So now we should be able to run. The other thing I want to do is okay, there's a lot of JPEGs in there. And we can look, and the last one is 185. So hopefully after this, after we run, we'll have another one to see. Okay, so let's try this again. Okay, Glass, Gallop. Okay, great. It's actually expected, so I'll launch it this way, and this way has a much better chance of working. Okay, cool. So I said 185 should be the last one. Now we have one below that. So we've taken a picture. I can actually. Okay, you guys believe me, right? It's there. Okay. And it's not 0. There's stuff in there. Whoa. Control. There we go. All right. Okay, so it crashed when I tried to launch with the voice command. Right away, it was like, nope, not going to do that. So what's happening is when you do a voice command launch, the system has control of the microphone, and the camera also uses the microphone. Like if you're going to record a video, it's going to use the microphone. Which is locked with that voice command. So you have to like put in a delay or like kind of wait a little bit or try opening the camera, and if it fails, then you can try again. So what I did was I did something really dumb and simple and just did an async task that waits 1,000 milliseconds before trying to initialize the camera. So here we have this async task, okay, that I'm going to add. I'm going to remove init camera from here, add it there, async task. And I'm also going to do a couple other things. On resume is when I'm going to kick this off. Hopefully on resume we'll have successfully built our surface view. So okay, so we just added that one thing. And that's still got to be overridden. Yeah, there we go. That doesn't really matter. Okay. Oh yeah, that does. We also want to take picture out of the end of init camera and move it to there. Okay. Yeah, so now I should be able to run it and do a voice command to launch. Yeah. That's what we want. Okay. Okay, Glass. Gallop. Oh, darn. Okay, Glass. Uh-oh. This has happened a couple times before. It gets into these loops. I have to shut it down. It's the only way to, unfortunately. This happened a couple times when I was building the thing. Like, it would get broken, and then like it couldn't recover from that state.
Does the operating system have any hooks or events that you can hook into? So, for example, one of the problems is that it's holding on to the microphone. It doesn't have any kind of signal place for you to put, I'm ready for you to do your own user code.
I don't think so. I haven't really looked into that. I don't think so. The way that like I saw several people who kind of had this sort of issue on like Stack Overflow. People from Google were commenting, and the solution was basically like, there's a race condition there. Wait, try and open the camera, fail over. So yeah, it wasn't a good solution. The other thing about Glass is it's like really rough around the edges right now. It's just there's a lot of missing stuff in the GDK. They're still building it. But more directly for your question, if Android provides that, then Glass would. It's not something that I've actually needed before. So, although there are things that I also didn't implement that would be useful, like while we're waiting for this to boot up, I could mention. So there's a button, a camera button on the top of Glass. What I should have done in here is to handle that event and either release the camera and let the system do its thing and take its own picture and then come back to my activity, or swallow that event and not let the system do that. But either way, so let's see. So now we should have the code on here. So I should be able to say, OK, Glass, gallop. OK, Glass, gallop. OK, cool.
So for simple commands like that, does it do voice recognition on Glass? Or does
That's
it still
local.
send it up to the internet?
No, that's local. So when you define them in your voice triggers thing, that happens locally. Like I can tell you, or I can show you actually. OK, Glass, send a message to Liz. So I'm just going to send a text message to my wife. Liz. Oh, sorry. Hey, I'm in the middle of a presentation trying to demo voice recognition.
So when the mic comes on, that means it's sending it out to the internet. But when it's just a little menu that you see, then it's sending it locally?
Yeah, so I'm not connected to Wi-Fi or something. I don't know. It.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I am connected, but for Google apps, it's a little bit more obvious. Like the way that the life cycle happens, like you could see. So the parts where I say, "OK, Glass, send a message to Liz." Liz, those are all local, and now it's listening for my voice input. So it's really obvious here, like when it's gonna record something and send it up and back versus what's local. But other apps don't need to be as obvious. Like you can kind of do other things. You can handle them your own way. You can actually be a lot smarter about that interaction. So one of the things that Jenny, who's the DevRel person for the Glass team, or one of them, was talking about was certain apps will, before you get into the point where you're starting to talk to it, determine if you have an internet connection and not do, not waste your time by saying a whole thing and saying like, oh, you're not connected. Sorry, I couldn't figure out what you were saying, like Hangouts just did. So there are opportunities to do things smarter, like a little bit more efficiently when you do the GDK. When you're doing mirror stuff, you don't really get a chance to do that. So real quick, if you're not familiar, GDK is like Android programming on Glass. Mirror is how you create Glassware using web services. So Mirror allows you to do pushes very similar to GCM. Like if you're familiar with GCM, Mirror is like a wrapper around it. And it's basic. You can do pushes and you can receive stuff from Glass, but it's a lot more constrained. It's also easier to create nicer UIs because they give you like templates and everything. Whereas with GDK, you're kind of off on your own creating UI like you do with Android. So, anyways, yeah, so I'm going to go to the next slide. So yeah, we've got our image capturing working. We have an async task now that's handling that race condition for us in a really hacky way. Now we're just going to add multi-image capture. And we want a counter to make sure that like we're only grabbing a certain number, and then we're going to keep track of the files. So let's grab that, and then this one. So, so we see how we have this counter, and I'm using a static counter. I'm going to make sure that whenever we resume, we start back at 0. Every time we take a picture, I'm going to say, I don't know, 5. 5 is enough, I think. Sorry, it's this one that we want. Okay, and then otherwise, is that how I had it? I don't remember. So if we go over 5, reset it, increment it, and take picture. We also need to restart the preview. If we don't restart the preview, it will fail. Try and jump back to my place here. Yeah, so we just increment the counter. Aha, list of files. So here, this is photo handler in the async task for when it's persisting our image to the file system. I have this thing that just, there's this interface which is photo callback, and I can show you that. It's, dirt simple, picture taken, which we implement in image grab frag. So when we've taken the thing and the image has been persisted to the file system, this parameter is the name of the file, so that we can get the file name back in our application, which is exactly what we need. So I have this list of files that doesn't exist yet, and it's just going to be an array list of strings to keep track of, because we're taking multiple files, and the next step is to like do something with those, right? So we want to make sure that we have a reference to them. Okay, so now we're good there. We're buildable again, and I can demo it here. It's a fine spot to demo. So now what we're going to see is we're going to see the preview come up, and then it's going to get a little choppy, and that's just it. It's going to be taking multiple images. And actually, before I run that, I want to go back into the shell and go back into this, and let's look and see, like, this is the last file, which is the 1727. So we should see 5 new files after that. Okay. Okay, it's coming up. Okay, see, it's like a kind of choppy thing. Okay, and now it's done. And now, again, 1727. 1727, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we have our 5 files. Good, so now multi-image capturing is working. Next thing up is we want to actually combine them into a GIF. So we need a few things here. The first thing is, like I mentioned at the beginning, the way that the UI is going to work is we're going to have one fragment that captures images, and then we're going to do a fragment transaction, and we're going to have another fragment that's going to build the images and kind of give us a little nice display as it's building. And then there's going to be another fragment transaction, and the final one is going to be a display. So now we're to the point where we kind of need to start worrying about that. So a nice thing to do usually is have an interface that your main activity implements that sort of helps you control that. Okay, so this is the definition. It's like all that the interface is going to be, just two things. What's it called? GIF flow control. Okay. And I'm going to that. Implement methods. Okay. All right, so now we're ready to create. Oh yeah, we gotta in the image grabber. On attach. Okay, so in the on attach, we want to grab a reference to this. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the lifecycle on Android for fragments, one of the very first things that happens in a fragment lifecycle is on attach, and that's basically the activity is first starting to build the fragment, and it passes a reference to itself to the fragment, and we can use this to hold a reference to that activity if if there's something else. The other way that you can do it anywhere else is just to say get activity. So we could have done it like this, where we could have said cast get activity, but it's kind of nice to have it done very explicitly and on attach. It's a good place for it. And then the other thing, instead of finishing the activity here, we're going to say start build, which goes here. Okay, so just the same thing there, and yeah, and then that's basically all we need to do for the image, grabbing the images. We're going to have a layout for the builder fragment. Just going to copy that whole thing. Okay. All right. In here, we're using a frame layout because we want to have things on top of each other without sort of respect to where the other piece is. We don't care about that because everything's just going to be centered in the image. So the image view is going to be a preview, which will kind of make it a little bit nicer. As we process images, every time we move to the next image, it's going to replace that image view, and a progress bar, which just sits in the middle to just spin around and look pretty and tell us that there's some work being done, that we haven't lost all control. So that's important. And now I'm going to add a builder fragment. And this is a decent chunk of code, but it's not really, It's not really too bad. What's it called? GIF builder frag. Okay. It's just fragment. It's going to go through and import stuff. Let's see. While I'm doing this, basically, as you can see, the only things that really in the view, we are inflating builder, and then in on resume, we just kick off this background task. The background task basically it steps through that list of files that we created, which is file name, yeah, right here. We're creating a list of bitmaps, and then I have this this thing that that I did. You know, it's just a simple bitmap manipulation thing. It it kind of grabs a file name, gets the bitmap out of the file if it's a bitmap file. Yeah, so let's okay. So the other thing is, let me jump back to the presentation for a second. So I'm going to tell you the secret to how to build a GIF. Find a good library. So that's what I did. It's really easy if you find a good library. So the library code is just generate like I like step through. I create this array list of bitmaps, and then I set 1 or 2 parameters on that, and then it just goes and it's done.
So which library did you use?
So it's this. It's in this Stack Overflow. Yeah, I included a comment there.
That's okay.
And I kind of I pulled this out because it was a big long file, and it's a package in my library. And I give credit and everything for this, but yeah, that's where it comes from. Works well. So yeah, so again, have an array list of bitmaps. We have an array list of files. Each file gets pulled into a bitmap, stored in the array list. We pass that array list to this library that steps through that and builds a GIF, which is a byte array for us. And then I use my my file manipulation stuff to basically persist that to the file system as a GIF. And then we're done. Like that's really the only thing here. And then we go to start display, and I'm just gonna stub that out for now. Okay, so that's gonna be finished, and we need a fragment transaction here to start running. So we called that. How about this? And we're not going to add it. We're going to replace it because something already exists there. We want to get rid of the fragment that's on there. So that's the sort of pretty basic fragment transaction. We get the fragment manager. You get a transaction. We replace the container is. I think it's actually defined. Yeah, it's the frame layout ID, the ID of the frame layout, the top level component in that activity. So we replace that with this new fragment, and then we're done. So we added the new fragment transaction in the main activity. Keep the screen on while we're running. Yeah, so let's do this before we try and run it. If I don't do this, the screen will turn off, and then we'll be in this weird state where if I turn the screen back on, it'll go through on resume again, and it'll try and build the fragment again. So we actually just want to set this set the screen to just stay on while we're running this thing. And this is just an Android thing. Like you can do this on any Android app in an activity. You can do a bunch of stuff with window layout parameters. It's like kind of the direction that Android was moving to help reduce the use of wake locks. They added these kind of nice things like this one keeps the screen on. It used to be that you needed to grab a wake lock to keep the screen on, and that caused a whole bunch of power issues, like apps not releasing that wake lock properly, running down people's batteries, like turning the screen on when it shouldn't have been. So this is the right way to do it. Okay, and we not sure. Should we put the eye candy in now, or should we run it? What do you guys think? Do you want to see more stuff, or do you want to just like look at the output in the terminal? Votes? Anybody? No? I'll just run it. It's been a little. Yeah. All right, so we're just gonna run because it's been a while since we've tried to run, and it may break. It shouldn't, but it might. Okay, so yeah, okay. Okay, Glass. Gallop. 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 There we go. No, it's running. Oh yeah, so sorry, I didn't change it, but you can see. I wanted to show you guys the output here. So we paused on that one. I wonder, did I not put any logs here? Okay, so yeah, this generate image, like memories being chewed up. It's a telltale sign that you're doing something. And there's our GIF. This one, let's do this. Let's see, what do we call this? Pull that. Okay. And that's the GIF that we just grabbed. All right. So it's doing stuff. That's good. But that screen where it was building, like it was really not obvious that we were really doing much. So the next thing is we're gonna add some eye candy. And again, I'm just gonna like copy this whole thing in here because there's a lot of like little changes along the way. Up there. Keep changing the names of things. So that. And this is builder. Okay. So, all right. So basically, all this is that I added. I have this little progress updater thing that updates the progress bar dialog. And when you pause it, it will kill it, which is really, really important to do because it's an async task. And if you go to on pause and like you don't kill this thing, it might kind of just stick around for a while. And async tasks execute serially unless you tell them to do otherwise, which we're not doing here. So that causes problems when you have an async task that never finishes. And the other thing that we're doing is we added this onProgress update to our background GIF builder async task. And this is just going to update, remember the layout where we had the image? This just updates that. So each time we step through a bitmap, I say publish progress and I pass it the bitmap. we already have a reference to the bitmap. It's really easy to set an image with a bitmap. So should be able to run it again. And this time we'll watch the output. Okay, as you can see, starting to take pictures. Okay. Now it should be doing a fragment transaction. Should be. Yeah, there we go. So it zipped through those pretty quickly, and then you see the progress in the middle is just going. And again, we're building this. Nothing special happens at the end. It's going to just do the same thing where it tells us the name. So I'm just going to keep going here. Yeah, finishes the activity after that. So now the nenext thing is starting to think about like how we're going to get this content off of glass. Like, I had some ideas about like initially what I might want for the flow. And one of the relatively obvious things is like, well, I'm building this GIF. It would be cool if I could share that. So my first thought was, okay, there are these static cards. They create cards in your timeline. So let me show you. So this is the timeline. So you got like random stuff. I took a picture earlier, emails. This is from, I think this is one of the ones that I did from the finished version of this. Okay, so like the timeline is just all these cards, right? And with a mirror API card, let's grab one of those. Okay, so the news. Okay, so this is called Wink Feed. It's an RSS reader for Glass. You can tap on it, and I can save it, or I can view a website. And a lot of Glassware has, like, maybe the picture has it. Oh, okay, so that's Google+. But a lot of Glassware has this share thing where you can share to Glassware that accepts whatever MIME type. So if you're just sending text, as long as the Glassware says, I can receive text, you can send something from my Glassware to, say, Pocket, which is what one of them does. Or you can send it to a contact via email or like whatever, as long as it says, I allow you to send me text, you can share to that Glassware, which is really cool. Like Evernote, you can share text or images or whatever. So I was thinking like, okay, I can create a card and put some menus on it and share stuff out from that card. Can't do that yet. That is just not implemented. It's apparently something that the team wants to do. They just haven't gotten around to it yet. So I'm going to show you how to create a card, but it's not going to be very useful yet. So let's look at that. So this is on post execute before we start the display. And I'm not really sure this is the right place for it, but it's where I put it, so whatever. Okay. Oh yeah, this is another thing I wanted to point out real quick. I wrote this platform utils helper, and I have this isGlass method. And basically, like, there's a really, really easy way to test if you're running on Glass. Since I'm building, this is an Android APK, you could install this APK on a phone. What this means is you can have one thing that you're distributing running on both Glass and Android devices. You don't need a whole separate app if you're running on Glass. Like, you can have all your background stuff be the same and just surface different things to the user. So I did this with my Works app. I have a version of a walkie-talkie that we did tickle that runs on Glass. Like you can just tap it and you start a walkie-talkie thing with somebody. It's like hard-coded right now to talk to my coworker, so I'm not going to demo it. But anyways, like that's what we do. Like it's the same code base. I just have this check up front that says, "Are we Glass?" Then we do a different UI. Okay. So the thing that I haven't done yet is grab a reference to the GIF file that we've created. So I'm going to do that. And this is just a static string. Okay. And then, yeah. So, okay. We are back at the last part of building a GIF. Like, I just inserted this into the on-post execute. Sort of assuming we need to be running on the main thread here to build static cards and like insert things into the timeline. I'm not sure, I didn't test it, but it seemed right to me. So that's why I put it there. So yeah, the first thing is the params is the file name of the GIF I created. So we want to keep that in the main activity as a static member so that we can get it in the display section. And the next chunk is how we create cards. Creating cards, luckily, is about as easy as it is with Mirror, but there are even fewer things you can do with it right now. So all we do is we create a new card, add an image to it. We say it's going to be full screen. There are a couple different layouts. You can have it like where the image is kind of shrunk on 1/3 of the screen, and then you have text for 2/3. Or you can have the image be full screen, and then the text just gets put wherever they feel like putting it. And we set text to be the file name. If we failed to get an image URI, we say that we can't put anything there. Then we just insert it into the timeline. Really simple. And you guys saw, like, I showed an example of what that looks like right there. So this is what you end up with. But again, I can't do anything with this. Like, there's no way to add menus right now. But like I said, that's coming hopefully soon. All right, so you guys have seen what that does. I'm not going to bother running that right now. So the viewer. Now we're on to the last part. We want to be able to display what we've done. We want to be able to see it in Glass. Help if I spelled things correctly sometimes. There we go. Okay. So, yeah, this is our final fragment transaction. And I will explain the first chunk after I finish the rest of it, because it's sort of an after thing. And this is the entirety of the code for our viewer. It's really short. Okay. Port. Okay, so I pounded my head against the wall for hours trying to get like a movie view to play this GIF. I kept getting divide by zero errors for the length of it. There's something weird with, it's either weird with the library that I'm using or I'm not setting something properly in there. But after like 3 hours, I gave up and I was like, okay, I know a web view will work, so that's what I did. So I created this like GIF web view. Again, I put it in my library just to like cut down on the amount of code we show, but it's also very simple. We want to grab the file, and then I have like some HTML here. It's a little web page that we have an image, and I tried to set the height and the width, but I think I showed up front that doesn't care. It's just like, nope, I'm not going to do whatever I want. So, and then you load it with the base URL so that when you add the GIF URI in here, it won't just load something blank. You'll get like origin issues if you don't do it this way. But it's pretty straightforward. So with that, should be able to run. Yeah. All right. So let's run this. This actually, I think we're done with code at this point. Yeah. Okay, so it's taking pictures first. The first fragment. Okay, should be done taking pictures. We'll do our fragment transaction soon. Yep, there it goes. Okay, now it's building. And this always takes a minute or something. That was another reason to cut down the size of each image. Like this would take a really long time if I had larger images. I actually was getting out of memory errors when I was thinking at full size. I'm sure there's smarter stuff that I could have done around memory management, but it's not going to happen over the weekend. Okay, should be pretty close. Let's look at the output says. Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, now it's. So this is what I was talking about. It's all the way width-wise, and there should it should actually be kind of in the center, and it's cutting off the bottom right now. Okay. And now. Depending on, okay, maybe I didn't do that yet. Okay, that's enough. That's enough showing. So kind of going back over here, I'm going to unplug. It's getting overheated. So getting the GIF off glass, I mentioned before about the static cards and how static cards are really like how I wanted to do it. I wanted to have a card go into the timeline that I could like click a menu and say share to whoever. That would be really nice. I'm like, okay, I can't do that. There are no hooks right now in the GDK to easily push stuff off. Like, yeah, I could have written code to push it up to a server, and I have to write server code to handle that. And I really didn't want to do that. I was feeling very lazy. So, basically, like this stuff, the Glass team knows that these issues exist. They, like we're gonna have stuff for that, but not yet. So we just kind of have to wait. The thing that I'm doing right now is I say like, okay. I found this really stupid hack that works where you can download and install the Google Drive APK and then just call this share intent. Oh, I know why this didn't work. Okay, So we have this intent. Oh no, that's not the thing. There was another bit. Okay, sorry. There is one more code bit. Here we go. So it's there's new, this share compat thing is relatively new in the compatibility library. What it does is it allows you to specify some particular application that you're going to share directly to. So I've done this for some stuff in TalkRay. Like, so I actually had some familiarity with this. I just didn't realize it worked on Glass for Drive. And it kind of does and it kind of doesn't. Actually, I should demo that part because I showed it like at the beginning. And it's really hacky. Okay, Glass. Grab a GIF. Okay, so this one's going to run longer because it's 10 pictures instead of 5. So again, like typically if you were going to do sharing with Android, you'd say like, okay, I'm just going to do a generic share intent. And then it gives you a list of all the apps that like accept the, whatever type of content you're sharing. And then you pick one. You can't do that on Glass. But with this share compat thing, you can specify specifically the thing that you want to share to. And it gives you like a nice way to do that instead of, kind of writing stuff that like kind of hopes that the package name stays the same. It's a little bit nicer and a little cleaner. And you get these kind of nicer views out of it. And Drive happens to work okay with Glass. Luckily, like I didn't have to log in or anything when I set up Drive. Like I just dropped the APK in and it had my account. So that was nice. And then it's just taking forever here. So in the final version, what it does is it will display, hopefully soon, and then after 5 seconds, it just comes up with the share thing, and then it shares, and then it's done. So like I said, super hacky, but it does work. The other way that Jenny had mentioned was you can do some OAuth stuff. Like if you're going to do it just for yourself, just like I'm developing this thing, I'm using it, you can hard code a token in so that you can push stuff to like Google Plus or something with the Android Google Plus client, or there's like this really hacky workaround with Mirror. It's very complicated. Like I don't even remember what the Mirror thing was. It was kind of nuts. I think like you push a thing down. Oh no, you have to send out a Mirror thing back to yourself that has the share that like knows the file name, and then you can get it and share it out. It's crazy. Or you can do embedded OAuth, like OAuth for devices, but that also is like not too pleasant. So I just use Drive. So whenever this feels like building, and now would be a good time for questions though.
Does a GDK comes with emulator?
A simulator? No, but you can do most of this stuff with the Android simulator. Like I said, most of this will work on Android. You just can't do the live cards and you can't do the Glass specific stuff. So yeah, I think that's probably something that they're well aware that needs to exist. People have built like simulators for Mirror. And I know there's a guy that's working on doing something on the design side as a simulator. But no, I don't think there's a simulator for GDK. Not yet, no. Yes?
So what was the condition? So you move around, like, does it kind of adapt to your voice or like support other languages?
So it's English only for now. It's only, you can only get it in the US. They're only supporting English right now. I think probably because that's a hard problem to like make sure that it's like consistently working well. And it is supposed to adapt to your voice over time. Although I've heard, from some people who have like accents and things like that, that it still is kind of like you have to be very clear and concise and like, kind of speak well when you're talking to glass and loud, especially.
So it can say it's kind of coming from Google, or it's kind of this kind of common engine shared across multiple systems. Because like if you like call some services, they also try to recognize your voice. Is it the same, or each pretty much has like its own engine?
Other GDK glassware can actually use its own voice recognition stuff. So you could put like a different voice recognition library in if you wanted to. Okay. So yeah, we finally got it to build and get to the drive. So this is what happens with the share compat thing. Like I said, it's really hacky. But you can just kind of swipe through to get to the OK button. Like I could. Maybe, I'm afraid to do this, maybe change the folder, but I'm not going to. I just hit OK. And then we're done. Alea, you had a question? No, I think she had a question.
I think she's just waving at the camera.
Oh. All right, I was like, OK. Anybody else? Yes?
Have you tried having it communicate with your phone? I mean, what I have in mind is maybe your phone is more powerful than the glass, and offloading some of the work to in something nearby.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I actually have an app that pushes notifications from glass from my phone to glass. So that's one that I'm working on. I'm like getting close to ready to release it. I'm just waiting for Google to approve it. What you're talking about is a little different, though. I guess you could push data over Bluetooth. I've heard that you can hack the MyGlass app and reverse engineer the Bluetooth communication that's going on. Obviously, that's a fair amount of work.
But you don't already have native libraries to do that. Okay.
But the other thing is like,
what about
you could go over Bluetooth to your phone, but you could also just do that on a server, right? Like you can push up the stuff to a server. That's what a lot of people do for, there are projects around, taking photo with glass, doing image processing on the server, and then giving the data back to glass, saying
That's
like,
what I originally thought.
yeah,
But if your internet connection isn't that great.
right. You're kind of limited if you're going off of glass for processing anyways. Like the Bluetooth connection is
Can
kind
you
of
do
flaky.
low-level socket programming with Bluetooth, like UDP or TCP?
Yeah, that's what we do for. With
Both
Bluetooth.
no. Okay.
With Bluetooth, no.
Okay.
With Wi-Fi, you can.
Okay.
You could
So I can
tether.
then connect to my phone through Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you could
But then on my phone, I'd have to make a server or something like that.
something like that. You could, but
Okay.
Android supports that.
Okay.
You can do a web server with Android. Like there are ways to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we actually use sockets for the walkie-talkie app. It does not work over Bluetooth.
Okay.
Um,
So your walkie-talkie app is over Wi-Fi.
Yeah, right now. I mean, we'll probably figure something out for
Okay.
if we want to release it.
Well, that works. I mean, you can develop that, and if you ever have the Bluetooth, it's pretty easy to switch over.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
If you have a regular antenna, then you can actually do it on glass. You add the XML file you set to the voice launch. Can you make it compatible with the both systems? I mean, can you make it to run on glass with the voice command, and whenever it's not in Google Glass, just run like a controller under that?
Yeah, that's what this one does. Yeah. Like it'll just ignore that.
So it's just adding that, that's it?
Yeah, you add the file and then you put a couple parameters against the activity in the manifest. So you tell it like you have the intent for voice launch, and then you have the metadata that says, okay, here's the voice launch, and then here's the XML file that defines what that is.
And you won't make any collision in a regular Android phone or anything with those manifest?
Yeah, no, it'll be fine. It'll just Android will ignore it.
So same voice command works with OK Google and OK Glass.
No, it won't do a voice launch on Android. Android will just ignore it, and you can use the launcher to launch it. But his question was more like, is this going to cause problems if you want to have the same app both platforms?
And for the image that is cropped, I think that I saw a couple of scroll bars for the web view. So
Yeah.
I think that's the problem.
Right. That also wasn't, it's not scrollable. You have to implement that, I think. I wonder if it saved this.
I think maybe modifying your computer.
It will
to make it to
How do I stop recording?
It's the very last thing in your upper left hand or right hand, yeah, upper left hand bar.
My left?
Your left. So you see there's the Google notification condom icon. It's that.